At a multi-story residential building in Seoul, a man slams his hand on the alarm to stop it from ringing. He sits up and glances at his daughter before moving to the kitchen to make breakfast. His daughter Unji gets dressed for her morning run and refuses to eat before leaving, so he packs a small portion for her to take later. She steps out soon after, and he watches her in silence, muttering to himself. The man is in his late 30s. His name on the national registration card is Kim Gintech. He works as the chief of the strategy group at Jiseong Group, a role displayed on his business card. He is the one who signs MOUs with the UK and Norway and achieves record-breaking performance in the second half of the year, as noted by the HR department. Kim Gintech continues to fight for survival in the harsh competition of society, protecting the professional profile he has built with effort. At the office, several coworkers gather in small groups, quietly discussing Kim Gintech as he prepares to leave work. They note how he has once again chosen to skip the company dinner, explaining his absence with the excuse of a personal matter. In reality, Gintech is not at a dinner table, but at the gym, steadily working through his exercise routine. While many professionals across the country follow the advice of best-selling books that stress networking as the true key to success, Gintech has chosen a different path. He sees people as numbers and places his focus only on those who rank high in value. By forming a team with such people, he avoids the complications of personal opinions, since managing human relationships has always been his weakness, a flaw that once held him back, even if only briefly. Yet the numbers on performance reports never lie, and they have become his shield. His steady achievements build a solid foundation, allowing him to lead a stable life that others cannot easily shake. However, this carefully balanced life begins to shift because of an unexpected call. After years of silence, his sister-in-law reaches out. She informs him that Unji has been accepted into Korea University, a school located close to his home. Though he acknowledges that she has simply reached the age to enter college, his sister-in-law places one request upon him, to have Unji stay under his care for a while. Soon after, the door of his apartment opens and Unji steps inside, noting the long time since they last met. Her presence stirs memories in him, pulling him back to the days of her childhood. He recalls when her mother explained that Gintech was not her father, but her uncle. The young Unji, however, insisted in her innocent way that her uncle was still her father. Her mother corrected her firmly, reminding her that she must not address him as such, for others might misunderstand. At that time, Gintech himself was asked what he thought, and he gave an awkward agreement, unable to respond with certainty. Now, with Unji standing before him as a grown young woman, the reality of her words lingers in his mind. What was once meant to be a simple arrangement of acting as her temporary guardian slowly grows heavier. Unji declares her stay under his roof, and in that moment, he understands that she now falls into his care, not as a passing responsibility, but as part of his life. The moment Unji's presence overlaps with the memory of her mother, Gintech feels unsettled. He leads her to the spare room and tells her to reach out if she needs anything. Yet, as he closes the door, regret presses on him. He had expected the mischievous girl from his memories, but instead, a quiet and reserved young woman of 20 has stepped into his life, and he does not know how to face her. At dinner, he notices her plate. She eats the meat but leaves the liver untouched. When he insists that she should not be picky and that the meal is balanced, she rejects his reasoning, stating she will manage her own diet. His face shows exhaustion as he realizes this distant and stubborn side of her lingers all day. Still, when the night comes, she quietly slips into his bed and falls asleep beside him. The act is ordinary to her but strange to him. For a man who has lived a disciplined, orderly, and refined life, sharing his bed with his niece unsettles him deeply, especially when her face mirrors her mother's. The resemblance makes the situation an unbearable weight. Meanwhile, Unji pushes forward with her own path. At the university track field, she runs with steady strides, her posture sharp and improving. The instructors take note, recognizing her as someone who lacks extraordinary talent, but compensates through practice, diligence, and sheer determination. To them, she is not a natural star, but a relentless worker. During her break, she receives a message from her uncle reminding her to contact him after training. True to his word, he waits nearby and drives her home. In the car, he brings up the subject of relationships, asking about a boyfriend. Her answer is direct. She has no time for such distractions, claiming it would interfere with her routine. Gintech listens silently, reflecting on her life. She always returns home at the same time, never once coming in late. She sticks firmly to her controlled diet, her training, and her schedule. Even by his strict standards, her discipline is flawless. He sees that her way of living mirrors his own in many ways, and though he considers it not necessarily a bad thing, he also knows she must carry unspoken ambitions, desires, and hopes that extend beyond the routine. After all, she is still young, and college is the time for dreams yet to be shaped. As they arrive at the entrance of the building, Gintech notices a small package placed on the ground. He bends to pick it up, confused since he cannot recall ordering anything. Before he can examine it closely, Unji suddenly rushes forward, reaching for the box with urgency. In her haste, the contents spill onto the floor. Gintech is caught off guard by what he sees and realizes it belongs to her. Unji, flustered and uneasy, gathers the items quickly, avoids his eyes, and dashes inside the apartment without explanation. Left standing at the doorway, Gintech notices a small note on the box explaining that the package had been opened by mistake. He feels speechless, unsettled by the discovery. Unji has always appeared as someone distant from such things, someone disciplined and detached from trivial interests, yet this glimpse of her contradicts that image. Later, he calls out to her for dinner, but she refuses. She claims she does not want to eat, even though training awaits her the next day. He tries to persuade her, offering to prepare something light, but she firmly rejects him, her tone sharper than usual. Despite her refusal, Gintech sets to work in the kitchen, preparing a meal with care. From the corner of the hallway, Unji quietly peeks, watching him move about. He remarks, without directly addressing her, that he made more than usual since she had skipped dinner the night before. He adds in a steady voice that she does not need to share everything with him, but she also does not need to carry everything alone. If she ever struggles, she should remember that she can ask for help, and he will do what he can. Unji does not answer immediately. Instead, she takes the meal in silence and runs off quickly, avoiding further words. But as the night deepens and the lights dim, she appears again at his door. Pushing it open slightly, she steps inside and stands at the edge of his room. In a small, hesitant voice, she asks if he is asleep. That morning, at Korea Sports University's track and field department, Unji changes into her uniform in the locker room while the other athletes chatter around her. Several of the girls complain loudly about their exhaustion, muttering about how relentless the coach has been during training. One of them turns to her friend and points out that she saw her running extra laps around the field, asking if she had gotten into trouble. The girl laughs sheepishly and admits that she was caught sneaking into a rice buffet the day before, and as punishment, she was ordered to run more. The first girl laughs again, teasing that she must have been thoroughly scolded, to which the other nods, saying she obeyed without complaint. The conversation is interrupted when another teammate bursts into the room, her voice filled with excitement as she announces that something amazing has happened. The two girls greet her, asking whether the delivery they were waiting for has arrived, but she waves it off, saying that can wait. Instead, she leans in and eagerly shares her gossip. Her name is Hiju, and she tells them she was doing her homework at the student council building the night before. While she was there, she discovered that the building is connected to the swimming pool, and late at night she thought she heard someone still training inside. Curious, she went to take a look. What she found instead shocked her, a couple inside the swimming pool area. As she narrates the story with playful exaggeration, she suddenly shifts her teasing toward Unji, who startles visibly, almost flinching at the unexpected attention. Hiju laughs at her reaction, claiming she cannot get over how easily Unji is unsettled, remarking that Unji seems uncomfortable with anything outside her narrow world of sports. As they leave the room together, another girl suggests that they should go to Yang one weekend, saying she heard it has become very popular lately. But Hiju shakes her head with a grin, remarking that Unji would never be interested in such things and cares only about athletics. Unji walks quietly, her thoughts drifting away from the chatter. She recalls how she has spent years working out with diligence, and before she realized it, people around her had already placed her into the image of an innocent, pure girl. In truth, she had little interest in such a reputation. She had even grown curious enough recently to buy something she normally would not, just so she could join in conversations like these. That thought brings her back to the package from the other night, and her stomach tightens with worry. She cannot stop wondering how she will face Gintech from now on. As the others laugh and talk beside her, Unji considers whether she should ever pretend to her friends that she already knows about such things. Yet she can easily imagine the shock on their faces if she did. Her uncle's words echo faintly in her mind, his reminder that she does not need to keep everything bottled up, that she can rely on him if she needs to. But despite remembering his sincerity, she feels there are matters she cannot bring to him. Back in the present, Unji stands quietly in the doorway of Jintech's room, watching him as he sleeps. She reminds herself that he was the one who told her to come to him if she was troubled, so her presence should not be wrong. Yet, doubt creeps in. The hour is late, and she had not expected him to already be asleep. Still, as she lingers there, she feels a fragile sense of comfort. The thought that she can lower her guard, even a little, and rely on him. But before she can settle into that warmth, Jintech suddenly shifts in his sleep, turning over. Startled, Unji panics and rushes back to her room. She throws herself onto her bed, burying her face into the pillow, scolding herself silently and wondering if she has gone crazy. Meanwhile, inside his own room, Jintech sits upright in the dark, wide awake. A few days later, he is at work in the company, lost in thought. A voice suddenly calls out his name, pulling him back to reality. He realizes he is in the middle of a meeting and apologizes quickly, asking for the discussion point he has just missed. His colleagues continue, but his mind remains heavy. Later, with a canned drink in hand, Jintech sits in the office lounge when one of his subordinates approaches and asks if something is troubling him. He admits he has been sleep-deprived. Inwardly, his thoughts circle around the same matter. Ever since the night he accidentally discovered the package, Unji has been coming into his room almost every night. He never knows what to say or how to react, so he continues to feign sleep, hoping she will leave without expecting more. In search of some perspective, Jintech casually asks manager Jung about his daughter, wanting to know her age. Jung replies that she is in the 4th grade. Jintech then presses further, asking how he manages when his daughter insists on sleeping beside him. Jung answers with a weary smile, explaining that it can be annoying when she clings to him after work, but he tolerates it. He adds that if other children discover she still sleeps with her father at her age, she risks being teased at school. He admits that this is why he does not even hug her much anymore, because once she enters puberty, that stage will vanish entirely. Unji has long passed puberty, and yet she presses into his life in a way that unsettles him. What others might call clingy from a child now feels far heavier, and he does not know how much longer he can brush it aside. When Jintech returns home that evening, he makes his way to his room with slow, heavy steps. Unji peeks out from the hallway, her eyes following him quietly as he disappears behind the door. Inside, he collapses onto the bed, his body weighed down by fatigue. For a moment, he debates with himself whether he should finally put a stop to her nightly visits, but the exhaustion dulls his resolve. He waves the thought aside, convincing himself that he is simply too tired to deal with it tonight. Sometime later, his eyes flutter open. The dim glow of the room reveals Unji once again at his side. He freezes, wondering at what point she slipped in without his notice. The realization unsettles him. He had been too drained to sense her presence. He forces himself to remain still, pretending to be asleep as he has done before. Yet this time, a question gnaws at him. He wonders if it is even right to continue ignoring her presence, to act as though he does not know. Late at night, Jintech sits alone in a small restaurant, nursing a drink while his thoughts weigh heavily on him. He tells himself that he should have endured longer, that he should have held it in until the end, yet the pressure inside him is building. As he lowers his glass, he notices a young woman drinking nearby, muttering to herself with unfocused eyes. Their hands accidentally reach for the same bottle at the same time, and for a moment, they lock gazes. It is Hiju. A memory stirs in him from earlier that day. When he had gone to pick up Unji from campus, he had seen Hiju outside, speaking on the phone. She had been telling someone that she would call back once she finished working on her project with friends. As she passed him, she suddenly paused her call and pointed out that the area was non-smoking. Caught off guard, he had apologized and pocketed his cigarette, admitting that he had not realized. She had casually added that if he wanted to smoke, there was a spot behind the building he could use, before resuming her call and saying she would probably be free around 8. Back in the present, Hiju also recognizes him, her expression softening as she addresses him with a teasing nickname, the cigarette Ajusi. Her words stumble out in a drunken slur as she asks if men, when drunk, start to see even their family members as women. She explains that her boyfriend had done something like that, and now he is begging for forgiveness. With her eyes hazy, she presses him for an answer on what she should do. Gintech studies her, realizing she is completely drunk, and answers in a detached tone. He tells her that instead of chasing what is right or wrong, she should simply do what she wants. Truth, he reasons, does not matter much in such cases. If she wants to forgive him, then she should. If not, then she should leave him. As he speaks, he pours another drink, letting the alcohol dull his own thoughts. Hiju laughs bitterly at his response, questioning why he is making such a big deal out of something so obvious, and even teases that he must have never dated before. Gintech says nothing, and eventually steps outside, cigarette in hand. The cool night air greets him, offering a momentary escape from the suffocation inside. Soon after, Hiju follows him out, calling to him with a drunken but sincere thank you for helping her clear her head. He replies briefly, urging her to head home since it is late. But she smirks, insisting she is not that young anymore, reminding him that she is already 20 years old. Her gaze lingers on him, steady and unflinching. He asks her what she is doing, and she responds without hesitation. She says she is following his own advice. She is going to do what she wants. With a mischievous confidence, she claims she has the right to be a little selfish. Deciding not to leave, she makes it clear that she wants to spend time with him. Gintech feels his resolve slipping. The alcohol clouds his head, loosening the discipline that usually governs his actions. With his guard lowered, he gives in, and the two of them end up spending the night together. Gintech wakes up suddenly and notices that she is already gone, as if the previous night never happened. His phone rings, and it is Unji. He tells her he is not home, saying he has some work to handle. Later, Gintech is in the house drinking a glass of water, thinking about what he did the night before. He sarcastically convinces himself that he is making great decisions. When he goes to open the door, he is stunned to find Hiju standing there. Hiju freezes in shock when she sees Gintech at the door, just as stunned as he is to see her there. Before either of them can react further, Unji arrives, calling out cheerfully. She refers to Hiju as Sola, and explains that she had been calling her from the ground floor, but was not heard. Unji then notices Gintech inside the house and is surprised to find him home. Gintech calmly explains that he has just returned. In the midst of this, Sola and Gintech exchange a quick, uneasy glance, both clearly unsettled by the unexpected encounter. Unji introduces Sola properly, prompting her to greet Gintech in a nervous and hesitant tone. Gintech responds just as awkwardly, his politeness edged with tension. Unji and Sola step into the house together, and Unji begins to explain that she was unable to find the exact item Sola had asked for, so she bought something else instead. Sola reassures her that it is fine. From the side, Gintech watches them silently, his mind turning. He thinks about the strange twist of fate, realizing that the woman he met only the night before is now standing in his home as his niece's friend. No matter how small the world may seem, he never expected such an overlap in their lives. Unji calls out to Gintech, saying she has a favor to ask. He assumes she might want him to give them space since she and Sola seem to be spending time together, but instead she reveals something entirely different. She explains that she has told Sola she lives with her father, and she now wants to call Gintech Dad in front of her friend. She asks if she can do that. The request stirs old memories in Gintech. 12 years earlier, when Unji was only 8 years old, his older brother passed away. From that time onward, Unji developed the habit of calling Gintech her father, a habit born from grief and the emptiness left behind by her loss. Despite her mature appearance, she is still just a young woman who has turned 20, and that wound from childhood has never truly healed. Gintech, understanding the weight behind her words, gently pats her on the head and tells her she may do as she wishes. Unji, embarrassed by his sudden tenderness, quickly protests, asking him not to tease her in such a way. The moment passes, and Sola changes the subject, asking Unji about her nutritionist's advice. Unji explains that she has been instructed to avoid salty and spicy foods for now, rather than indulging in occasional cheat days. Sola points out that since Unji is still in the recovery phase after her short term training camp, she needs to pay attention to her diet.